Christmas Eve, 2002. Laci Peterson, 27 years old, 8 months pregnant, disappeared from her Modesto, California home. Her husband, Scott Peterson, reported her missing. "I came home. She was gone. Her car, still here. Her purse, still here. Where is my wife?" The nation searched for Laci. Vigils, volunteers, media coverage. Scott played the worried husband, begging for her safe return. But investigators saw something else. Suspicious behavior. A mistress he was hiding. A double life no one knew about. And 4 months later, the truth. Bodies washed ashore. Laci and her unborn son, Connor. Scott Peterson, arrested. Caught fleeing to Mexico. Dyed hair, changed appearance. $10,000 cash. He murdered his pregnant wife, dumped her body in San Francisco Bay, then lied to everyone. Today, we investigate the perfect husband who was a killer, the pregnant wife who trusted him, the affair that led to murder. Because this case shocked America and defined a generation's view of domestic violence. The Scott Peterson case begins now. Modesto, California, late 1990s. Scott Peterson and Laci Rocha met at California Polytechnic State University, San Luis Obispo. Laci was vibrant, outgoing, beloved, studying ornamental horticulture. Everyone who knew her loved her. Scott was charming, handsome, studying agricultural business. Seemingly the perfect catch. They fell in love and married. August 9, 1997. The couple seemed perfect, young, in love, building a life. They moved to Modesto, Laci's hometown, close to her family. Scott worked in sales. Laci as a substitute teacher. They bought a house, 1523 Covina Avenue, a modest 3-bedroom home. Friends described them as happy, active, in their community, the kind of couple everyone envied. But in 2002, Laci got pregnant. She was thrilled, always wanted to be a mother. They learned it was a boy, named him Connor before he was even born. Laci prepared the nursery, bought baby clothes, told everyone how excited she was. Her due date, February 10th, 2003. But Laci would never hold her son because Scott Peterson, the seemingly perfect husband, was living a double life. And he had a plan. November 2002. Scott Peterson met Amber Frey. Amber was a massage therapist, single mother, living in Fresno, looking for love. She met Scott through a friend. He told her he was single, never mentioned a pregnant wife. Amber fell for him. Scott would drive to Fresno, spend time with Amber, tell her he loved her. But there was a problem. Scott told Amber strange things. In early December, he said this would be his first Christmas alone. He'd lost his wife. Amber assumed she had died, but Laci was alive, very much alive, and very pregnant. Scott was planning to make his lie a reality. December 9th, 2002. Scott bought a boat, a 14-foot aluminum fishing boat, paid cash, told the seller he planned to fish in San Francisco Bay. Strange for someone who barely fished. He also researched San Francisco Bay, tides, currents, how bodies decompose in water. He was preparing. December 24th, 2002, Christmas Eve. Scott would later claim He went fishing that day in San Francisco Bay, but that morning, Laci was alive. December 24th, 2002, Christmas Eve morning, 1523 Covina Avenue. Laci Peterson, 8 months pregnant, was home. Scott claims he left around 9:30 a.m. to go fishing at Berkeley Marina, San Francisco Bay. He says Laci planned to walk the dog, then bake. But what really happened? Investigators believe Scott killed Laci that morning in their home, then loaded her body into his truck, drove to Berkeley Marina, weighted her down, and dumped her in the bay. Why San Francisco Bay? Because the currents are strong. Bodies often never found or wash up far from where they entered. Scott thought she'd never be discovered. That afternoon, Scott returned home around 4:30 p.m. He called Laci's mom, Sharon Rocha. "Is Laci there?" "No." "Why?" "She's not home. Her car's here." "But she's gone." Sharon immediately knew something was wrong. Laci wouldn't leave without telling anyone, especially 8 months pregnant. Scott called police. 5:15 p.m. "My wife is missing." Modesto police responded. They searched the house, Laci's purse, phone, car, all there. The only thing missing, Laci. Officers asked Scott questions. "Where were you today?" "Fishing. Berkeley Marina." "In December? On Christmas Eve?" "Strange. But okay, what was Laci wearing?" Scott couldn't remember his pregnant wife missing, and he couldn't remember what she wore. Red flag. Police began an investigation. But Scott played the worried husband. That night, Laci's family organized search parties. Volunteers flooded Modesto looking for Laci and baby Connor. Scott appeared on TV begging for her return. "Please, Laci, come home. We love you." But behind the scenes, his behavior was off. Modesto police worked around the clock. They interviewed neighbors. One neighbor saw Laci's dog running loose with a leash around 10:30 a.m. But no Laci. Suspicious. If Laci was walking the dog and something happened, where was she? Police looked at Scott's story. He claimed he went fishing at Berkeley Marina, 90 miles from Modesto. Why drive 90 miles on Christmas Eve when you have a pregnant wife at home? They checked his story, marina records, security footage. A few people saw a man matching Scott's description with a boat, but no fish. Scott claimed he caught nothing, then returned his boat to the marina and drove home. His alibi was weak. Detectives dug deeper. They searched Scott's truck, his warehouse, his boat. They found suspicious items, concrete anchors, homemade in Scott's warehouse. He claimed he made them for his boat, but why? And hair found in pliers on the boat, later identified as Laci's. But the most damning discovery, Scott had a girlfriend, Amber Frey. Police found out about her and contacted her. Amber was shocked. "He told me he was single. He never mentioned a wife." Police asked Amber to help record your phone calls with Scott. Amber agreed. She became a key witness. The phone calls were explosive. Scott called Amber from vigils for his missing wife, told her he was in Paris celebrating New Year's when he was actually at a candlelight vigil. For Laci, he lied. Constantly. Amber asked him about news reports. "Are you Laci Peterson's husband?" Scott finally admitted yes, but claimed he told police about her. He didn't. The recorded calls proved Scott was a liar, a manipulator, and possibly a killer. As weeks passed, no sign of Laci. Scott's behavior got stranger. He sold Laci's car, looked into selling the house. Before she was even found, he changed his appearance, grew a goatee, dyed his hair blonde. Why would a grieving husband do that? Then, April 2003, a body washed ashore. April 13th, 2003, Richmond, California, San Francisco Bay shoreline. A couple walking their dog found a tiny body, badly decomposed, but clearly a baby. The next day, April 14th, 1 mile away, another body washed ashore. A woman, headless, limbless, but identifiable through DNA, Laci Peterson and baby Connor. The news devastated the nation. Laci and Connor were dead. And where did the bodies wash up? Right near Berkeley Marina, where Scott said he went fishing that day. Laci disappeared. Coincidence? Investigators didn't think so. The bodies were too decomposed to determine exact cause of death, but the medical examiner concluded homicide. Connor had been in utero when Laci died, meaning someone killed Laci while she was pregnant, and that someone was Scott Peterson. April 18th, 2003, San Diego, California. Police had been watching Scott after the bodies were identified. They knew he would run, and he tried. Scott was pulled over near the Mexican border. In his car, police found $10,000, cash, 4 cell phones, camping equipment, his brother's ID, Scott's hair, dyed blonde, goatee, grown out. He was fleeing. Officers arrested him, charged with 2 counts of murder. Laci Peterson and Connor Peterson. Scott maintained his innocence. "I didn't kill my wife," but the evidence said otherwise. The trial began June 2004, Redwood City, California. The prosecution presented their case. Motive: Scott wanted out of the marriage. He had a girlfriend, a baby on the way. He didn't want opportunity. He was alone with Laci that morning, means he had a boat. Knowledge of the bay. Evidence: Laci's hair on the boat. Concrete anchors in his warehouse. Bodies found where he said he was fishing. And his lies. The affair with Amber. The disguise. The escape attempt. Selling Laci's belongings before she was found. The defense argued circumstantial evidence only. No murder weapon, no crime scene, no witnesses. Someone else could have killed Laci. But the jury didn't buy it. November 12, 2004. Guilty. Scott Peterson convicted of first-degree murder of Laci, second-degree murder of Connor. Sentencing came next. The judge sentenced Scott to death. He was sent to San Quentin death row, but the case wasn't over. Scott Peterson has been on death row since 2005. He has appealed his conviction multiple times. In 2020, his death sentence was overturned by the California Supreme Court due to juror misconduct, but his conviction stood. He was resentenced to life without parole. Scott still maintains his innocence. His family believes him, but Laci's family knows the truth. Sharon Rocha, Laci's mother, has spoken publicly about the pain of losing her daughter and grandson at the hands of the man she once trusted. The case changed how America views domestic violence and how the perfect marriage can hide a monster. Scott Peterson, the perfect husband who murdered his pregnant wife, Laci Peterson, 27 years old, 8 months pregnant, with Connor. She trusted the wrong man. Christmas Eve 2002, she disappeared. April 2003, her body found. Scott convicted, sentenced to death. Now, life without parole. He sits in prison, claiming innocence, but the evidence doesn't lie. The affair, the lies, the escape attempt, the bodies found exactly where he said he was fishing. Laci and Connor deserved better. This has been The Hidden World. If this case moved you, hit that like button, subscribe. For more, comment below. Do you think Scott Peterson is guilty? Until next time, stay aware, because in the hidden world, sometimes the person you trust most is the one you should fear. And love can be the most dangerous thing. Laci trusted Scott, and it cost her everything. Rest in peace, Laci and Connor. Justice was served.